Hey, welcome back. It's day number 2 of our coding camp. I'm here with my campers again. I'll let them introduce themselves again.
I'm Neela. Hi, I'm Bowen. Hi, I'm Keegan.
Hi, I'm McKinley.
All right, and we are back, and we're going to do some coding activities today. Before we get jumped into today, though, I just want to quickly reflect on some things we learned last time. It's a really good way to kind of like cement some of these things in your head. So things we learned last time. So we did Avery with her alphabet breakfast. One thing we learned is that different sprites have their own code. So like Avery had some code, and then the apple had some code. Today we're going to have multiple sprites, but actually only one of them is going to have code. Other things we learned is that code happens sequentially. So you do things in order. So this is like point towards mouse pointer, move these steps, change this costume. It happens sequentially. We also use a lot of loops to make things happen sequentially over and over again. We learned about if statements. So maybe this thing happens, maybe it doesn't. But if statements are something we use a lot in our code. And then the last thing we learned about was variables. So last time we learned about variables, you had to create the variable. You usually would initialize it. You would regularly modify a variable because it's got to change if it's a variable, right? And then you have to use it somehow in your program. And so those are some skills we learned last time. And we're going to learn new skills this time. Let's show you a demo of what we're making today. So I've got a demo solution on here that I can show you. And so we're making a game called Hedgehog Snack. So I'm going to make it full screen and hit play. But what this is this is a hedgehog, and he's trying to get around the maze. And you use the arrow keys to move him around the maze. And if you run into a wall, he won't go in the walls, right? So he just bumps off the walls. And then he is trying to get the beetle. When he gets the beetle, he chomps, and he says, "Congratulations for finding the beetle." We're also going to add a feature to our game. So this is another version of it. So almost the exact same game, but in this one we're going to add a timer. So it's going to be how fast can you get the beetle. So you hit him, and he'll say you found the beetle in 6.5 seconds. And then your goal is to try to be faster. I was 6.5 last time. Do you think I can be faster this time? Come on, Hedgehog. I was 5.7, right? So that's the idea of our game today. So let's go ahead and get started by clicking on, I'll go to scratch.mit.edu. I'll go there as well. And click on Create up here. So we've got a blank screen. We've got a cat on our screen. The first thing that I want to do is I want to get rid of the cat. We don't have a cat in our program. So go ahead and delete the cat, or trash can icon here. And let's go ahead and add our hedgehog. So just like we did before, click on Choose a Sprite. And the sprite that we're going to pick is an animal. And the one I'm looking for is the hedgehog. So I'm just going to go through here and pick the hedgehog. Now yesterday I said try to use Avery walking, but a bunch of my campers here use something different anyway. I will say that if you want to use a different sprite, it'll work out okay this time. But I'm going to use a hedgehog because that's the way I designed this game. So now we've got our hedgehog in here. Our hedgehog is a certain size. As you can see, the size of our hedgehog affects how complex our maze can be, right? So if you want a very simple maze, 100% hedgehog would work, but you can see that like about all I could do is like maybe a U shape if he's 100%. So I'm going to make mine a little smaller. I'm going to make him like 50%. And now you can see that I could make a more intricate maze if I wanted to do that. So pick the size of your hedgehog that you think is appropriate for you. I would guess somewhere like 40 to 60 type range. The next thing I want to do is I want to control how my hedgehog moves. So just like before, if you click on direction, you can see that this hedgehog can point any direction, right? And so that's just how these sprites work. But what I want to do is in this game, I never want him to point a weird direction. And so I want to set his mode. So you can see his modes, there's 3 modes. There's all around, there's left, right, and then there's do not rotate. So click on do not rotate. And so the nice thing about do not rotate is it doesn't actually matter which way you point this arrow because he does not rotate. Because I'm just a little OCD, I'm going to put him back to 90, but it genuinely doesn't matter where you leave it. But I like to leave mine at 90. Great, so now we've got a hedgehog. We've also got to make a drawing of the background. I'm going to put the code in for the hedgehog first. So whenever we start our code, I'm going to move the hedgehog to where I want him to start my game. I'm going to make him start, I'll make him start in the upper left here. It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to put him in the upper left. And I'm going to start making code for my hedgehog. So campers, what's the first command that we usually put into our code to start things off? Yeah, so go to events. And the way a lot of programs start is with when green flag clicked. And so once I click the green flag, I want to do something. I want to make sure that he snaps back to this starting position. So to make sure that he snaps back to this starting position, that's going to be in movement. So go to movement. And find one that says go to XY. So it's this one right here. The thing I really like about this command is that if I moved my hedgehog to this position first, then it's called the arguments, so the numbers in white here, are set to wherever I move my hedgehog. If yours is different numbers, that's totally fine. They'll be corresponding to where he's at right now. By the way, you can see that because you can see his X and his Y are down here, and they should match just perfectly. The next thing I want to do is I want to have my hedgehog do things forever. A very common thing to do. So go to Control and find the forever loop. So very mean to tell humans to do things forever, but in code it happens all the time. We're going to forever do things. So what are we going to do forever? Well, we're going to listen for a user to press the up, down, left, and right arrow keys. And whenever they press those keys, we're going to move in that direction. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and stub out 4 if statements. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see that we're going to have 4 keys, up, down, left, and right. And inside of each one of these, there's a condition, and then there's code that runs if that condition is true. A lot of conditions are inside sensing. So for this condition that's on the inside, go to sensing. And we want to know if they're pressing a key or not. So the one that we want is this one right here. Key space pressed. So go ahead and put this in here. Now obviously you don't care about the space bar. What you care about is a different key. That's where this little white drop down comes into play. So click on this white drop down and make it say up arrow. So I'm going to let you finish the other 3. So go ahead and do that same trick. Put a space in for up. Well, we've already got up. Down, left, and right. So go ahead and finish that up. All right, so I've got mine in there. If you did yours in a different order, that's okay. The order doesn't actually matter. But now we're going to put things into them. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do one together, then I'm going to let you make the rest. So go into motion. And we want to do 2 things. We want to point in a certain direction. So let's find point, where is it at? Point in direction 90. There's the one. Now, where it says 90, this is kind of fun. What direction is 90? You can actually just click on the number 90, and it'll show you what direction it considers 90. So 90 is apparently straight over to the right. Well, if we press the up arrow, I want to go up. So I want that arrow to go up. And then after I point in that direction, I want to move 10 steps. So maybe you see the pattern already, but I'll do one more with you. So I find a point in direction 90. I click on the 90, and I make it the direction that the arrow says. So this is a down arrow, so I want it to be down. And then I grab a move 10 steps. So see if you can finish the other 2 up for left and right. All right, so I got mine in there. It turns out that I did the easy 2, up and down. My campers had a little more problems with left and right. Just people didn't know they're left and right. So left is over that way, which is negative 90, and right is that way, which is positive 90. Go ahead and try it out and see how it goes. So go ahead and hit your green flag button. And if you press your down arrow, it should go down. Your right arrow should go right, up should go up, left should go left. And so now you can kind of move around. You can also kind of sort of do diagonals if you hold down 2 keys at the same time. Now the speed might feel like it's just fine right now, but that's because there's no walls in the way. This actually is kind of a fast speed. And so what we want to do is we want to change the speed. We're going to make it slower, But instead of just changing each one, you'll find that this is annoying. So it's like, oh, maybe 7's the right number. So I'd change them all to 7. You don't have to do that, right? And then you run it and you're like, oh, that's a little too fast. Maybe I want 6. And you can see how whenever you have the same number in your code in many different places, it's better to make a variable that is set one time, and then you can use it everywhere else. So go ahead and click on Variables, and click on Make a Variable. And we're going to make a variable called speed. Now speed is a different variable than like we used last time. So last time we created it, we instantiated it, we modified it, we read it. This one is actually a variable called speed that's going to be a constant. So we're going to set it once and we're going to use it in multiple places. It can be for all sprites and that's fine, but it's actually specific to just the hedgehog. So I'm going to click on for this sprite only, because only the hedgehog needs to know his speed. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Now, whenever you put it in here, you can see mine says hedgehog : speed. I don't want to display it on the screen. Whenever you don't want to display a variable on the screen, you just hit this little checkbox beside it. So there's no need to display it on the screen. We don't really want that, so we just uncheck that. Now we will need to do the other normal task. So we need to set my speed somewhere at the top. So drop in this set. Now you'll notice it defaulted to my variable. That's not the one I wanted. I want speed. By the way, if you're annoyed about this variable called my variable that's still around, you can, this is completely optional, you can right click on it and you can delete my variable if you want. And then it goes away because we don't need it. So I'm going to set my speed to something. I'm going to set it to 5. Now the idea is we've made the variable, which is good. We've set its value to 5 in this case. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to use this variable in places. If I run the code now, it won't be any different. There's nothing magic about the word speed. I've got to actually drop this variable in to all these places that say move. So I'm going to drag speed, and I'm going to drop it into that one. And I'm going to grab speed and drop it into that one. I think you see the pattern. Go ahead and hit the last two. Speed and speed. Cool. So now the fun thing about this is while I'm developing, I can try 5 and I can see how 5 works. And I'm actually happy enough with 5. But if 5 wasn't good, I could change it to something different. Let's say I wanted 4 even, right? So maybe I've got a really intricate maze and I need to like go a little slower through it. But it's nice to do things like this because then you can set it in only one place and then you can use it in all these different things. It's called avoiding magic numbers. All right, a little digress there. All right, so I'm pretty happy with our hedgehog. I think what I really want to do next is I want to get into drawing. So I'm going to hop over to the solution just so you can kind of see it again. You can see that what we have to do here is we have to draw a maze for our hedgehog to go around to get to his goal. So the way I drew this maze, there's many ways to draw it, is I made a solid, like dark brown that filled up the whole screen. So it's actually a rectangle, it's solid, it's dark brown. Maybe I'll just go in and look at it here. So it's a solid dark brown rectangle that fills up the whole screen. And then I drew a series of light brown rectangles on top of it to kind of like make the path. There's many ways to draw, but that's going to be the strategy that we're going to use together. So go ahead and do this for me. Let's draw our background. So the first thing you have to do is you have to click over here where it says backdrops. And a backdrop, just like sprites, can have code if you want. And then this tab right here called backdrops, this is where we're going to be doing our modifying. He can also have sounds, by the way. We don't care about sounds for him, but we do want backdrops. Now before what we did is we just used a built-in image. But this time we're going to draw from scratch ourselves. Drawing, it's like, I don't know, there's like a Peppa Pig episode where like she gets glitter, but as soon as like kids get glitter, they just go crazy with it. Somehow it just goes nuts. Drawing can be the same way, so make sure you have patience with your little ones. But what we want to do is we want to do some drawing. Let's get you familiar with the drawing editor. It's really powerful to get good at drawing. It's kind of like where STEAM comes in. It's a combination of art and science. But you do have to get good at your tools. So you can see that there's a number of different tools. The one we're going to focus on today is the rectangle tool and then the select tool. So these are the only two that we care about today. So the first thing I want to do is I want to draw a big rectangle on here for that dark brown color that fills up the whole screen. So what I do is I click on fill color. Mine defaulted to purple for some reason. And I'm going to try to find the color that I want for my brown. Their system uses something called color saturation brightness, which I think might be a little confusing for kids, but you'll get used to it. But you pick what color of the rainbow you want first. Then you pick like how like intense you want it to be, the saturation, and then you pick the brightness. So I'm going to make mine kind of like a brown. The outline, I actually don't want an outline. So I'm going to click on this little like red line, and this means don't give me an outline at all, right? So it's like transparent, it's like it's not there. So now I'm ready to draw. So what I want to do is I want to draw a rectangle that's just big enough, it does not have to be perfect, to fill the whole screen. What they've decided to do in Scratch is that this white box, this is your screen, and anything you draw like outside of your screen doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to make it big enough to go beyond my screen. You can see what I'm doing here is after you draw a rectangle, you go into a mode where you've selected that rectangle and you can modify it, which is kind of neat. So I can now modify it by grabbing these handles. That's something that they added, by the way. There's also what's called bitmap mode. We don't want that. We want to be able to modify our rectangles after we put them on. So that's my big background color. The next thing I want to do is I want to click off of that rectangle. So by the way, if you use the select tool, you can click on it and you can see these blue lines around it, or you can click off of it. If you click on it, you're going to modify it. If you click off of it, you're going to draw something new. So I'm going to draw some more rectangles. So for mine, I'm just going to use maybe like a lighter brown for his path. And I'm going to start drawing rectangles. So I'm going to draw a rectangle that kind of comes down. And then what I choose to do is I kind of like click off of it so it's no longer selected. And then I'm going to draw a rectangle. Oops, that was not a very good rectangle. Draw a rectangle that comes like over this way. And you can choose to make your maze as complex or as simple as you would like, right? Just make sure that you can, in fact, get through your rectangle, or else your game's going to not be playable. And the other nice thing is if you decide like, oh, this was kind of too low, I'm going to move this up. You could always move things up afterwards. So I'm not going to tell you what to draw. It's completely up to you. But you can make it as simple or as complex as you like. I don't know why, but I felt like making mine a little bit more complex this time. Was that a good plan? I'm not sure. But I chose to make mine kind of complex. And so you're going to pick like where is the end goal of your maze. So for mine, my end goal is going to be up here at the top. So I'll make that a little bigger there. So I'm going to eventually put my beetle up here. You can also be OCD about getting the edges to line up. So like this edge is just a little bit low there, and I can try to get that just perfect on there. And the nice thing about this tool is that you can always modify things after the fact. So I think that that is probably good enough. Maybe I'll move that up just a little, and I'll call mine done. So pause the video and spend as long as you need to draw a maze. Do keep in mind that your hedgehog has to be able to go through it. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to take my hedgehog now. So I'm actually just going to click on him over here. And I'm going to make sure that he fits everywhere. So he kind of sort of fits through there. Does he fit through here? Yeah, he kind of sort of mostly fits. Does he fit through here? Yep. So make sure you can just drag your hedgehog around and make sure he fits through your whole maze. Mine's just a little bit on the tight side. So instead of 50 big, I'm going to make him 40 big. All right, so pause the video, get your hedgehog together, and I'm going to come around and I'm going to see how my kiddos did with their maze drawings. All right, Neela, you're up first. So Neela drew a maze. Let's see what kind of maze you drew, Neela. Tell us about it, Neela. Where's your victory point going to be?
Sissy mostly helped me with it.
Yeah.
And that's my victory.
And you're going to go up there. Great. All right, Bowen.
Here's mine.
What's your theme? Oh, no hedgehogs in this one. All right, what do you got?
It's underwater. They're trying to be friends. Watch.
So they're trying to be friends. So you're going to try to bring them around and make them be friends. Yeah, normally don't octopus normally eat jellyfish, Bowen? But this time they're trying to be friends?
Yes.
All right, McKinley will do yours next. Oh, we got a spiral thing going on here. So what are your creatures?
Mine is an owl and a mouse. The mouse is actually bigger than the owl, though. I need a mouse, mini owl.
And so he's gonna eat it. And Keegan, oh man, yours is very elaborate. What's your plan here, Keegan? So you've got like a dog going through a very elaborate red maze. So Keegan chose to do one that's very elaborate. It looks really cool, buddy. But he's gonna finish it later because it was kind of taking a while. I love it. Are you excited about your maze? Are you guys excited about your mazes?
Excited about your maze?
All right. So we've got our backgrounds ready to go, and we're ready to add some more code. So first off, go ahead and play your game. And actually, this is a fix I'm going to have to make. My starting spot wasn't quite right for my hedgehog. So I'm going to actually adjust my starting spot. So you can see how he accidentally starts in the wall. Whoops. So I'm going to fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move him over to here. So I want him to actually start right here. So that was a little change. Now I've got two options. I could either change these numbers. So like it says 186 there. So I could just change it. Or I could bring in that command again. Either way would work. So I'm going to change mine to match like what it says there. So it says 186, 159. Hopefully you planned ahead better than me and you don't need to move your hedgehog. But for me, I had to do a little movement. So now I can see that I'm going to try to get around my maze and everything's going to be good. So the thing that I want to fix next, personally, is I don't like that I can just go right through the walls, right? Like this is going to make my game really easy if I can go just right through the walls, just zipping through there. So let's write some code to stop that from happening. So find the bottom of your code. Mine's getting kind of long. And let's add another if statement. If statements are in control. And here's an if statement right here. Now, what we want to do with this if statement is we want to see if we're touching the wall, right? So touching is something that's in sensing. And the way we know if we're touching the wall or not is through this touching color. So grab a touching color and drop it into your if statement. Now, how do we get this color? This color has to be exactly right. So there's like literally millions of different shades of colors. So we want the color to be exactly right. So you can click on this and you could try to like select the color. But let me assure you, it would be hopeless, completely hopeless. That's where this eyedropper comes in. So you're going to click on this eyedropper and it immediately kind of changes your screen a little bit. And the idea is it wants you to hover your mouse somewhere over your background. That's why it's like an eyedropper of the background. And what you want to do is you want to pick one of your walls, and it'll change to be that color, and then you just click, right? And so what that did for you, which is super easy, is it picked exactly that shade. Off by a little bit in the shade won't work at all. By the way, that's a good reminder. Make sure that your walls are exactly the same color, right? You can't have variations, because it'll only detect that shade. So if you're touching that color, what do we want to do? Well, if I could stand up and still be in the camera. So imagine that I'm walking and I hit the wall. Then what I would do is I would do this. And if you think about describe in words, what happened there? So I hit the wall and then, Bone, what did I do next? Can you figure it out? So
You turned around and bounced off.
Yeah, so I turned around and bounced off. That's exactly correct. Way to go, Bo. So those are both motions. So how do I turn around? So I can see there's a turn 15 degrees, and I put this in here. And it doesn't matter if you do turn left or turn right. So I hit the wall, and I turn around. Now this might be a question for Keegan. Keegan, how many degrees is it if I turn completely the opposite direction? Do you know how many degrees that is?
180.
180. You got it. So you're going to do a 180. Way to go, bud. And then we're going to jump off the wall some amount. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to drop in another move 10. And when I hit the wall, I'm going to choose to bounce off more than just one speed amount. I'm going to bounce off double what my speed is. Does that make sense? So if we were to hit and turn, we want to jump off twice what our speed is. So how do you do twice your speed? So you need an operator. And so we want to take speed and multiply it by 2. So you've got to find the operator, which is for multiplication. It looks like this. It's a little star. And drop it in here. By the way, you'll notice that it always outlines it in white when you can drop it. But what I want to put in here is I want to move 2 times speed. And speed's in my variables. So if I hit the wall, I want to turn a 180, and then I want to move off 2 speed amounts, right? And that's just so you bounce off quite a bit, right? Let's try it. So we're going to hit the green flag button. And then now when you hit a wall, what should happen is it should just kind of like jump you off of it. So you can like try to go through it, but it shouldn't let you, right? So it should stop you before you go through the walls. So test a few of your walls and make sure that you can bounce off of them. You also notice that I don't have anything on the bottom here, so I can kind of like go down into the bottom. Maybe I considered that a feature, or maybe I didn't think about it. I can kind of go off to the side some. But overall, I'd say that mine's working and I'm happy with it. If you made your maze too tight somewhere, this is probably where you're going to figure it out. So if you've got a spot in your maze that you can't go through, oh, I did something crazy there. Yikes. Not going to worry about that. If you found a spot that you can't get through or something that's just too tight, you can go into your maze and fix it. Oh, I discovered a bug in my game. If I go at a diagonal, I can go through walls. All right. That was an unexpected feature. So don't use diagonals. All right. So I think mine's going pretty good. What I want to do is I like sounds, right? So like when I hit a wall, I like to have some kind of like small sounds. Now, there's a lot of sounds that are built in, and we could use one of those, but I want to use it as an opportunity to show you something new. So down here in the lower left, there's like this Add Extensions thing. Click on Add Extensions. And there's actually a lot of additional code extensions that you can add. Some connect to robots and some do neat things. The one we want now is music. So go ahead and click on music. And when you add an extension, what it'll do is it'll basically just kind of like add a new category to the bottom of your toolbox. So there's a bunch of these that you can add. This one is music. And so what I want to do is I want to add play drum. So whenever I hit the wall, I want to play a drum. You can pick between a snare drum or a bass drum or all kinds of drums. I think I feel like a conga drum right now for no real reason. But what should happen now is whenever I run my game, when I hit the wall, it should play a little sound, right? So add a little sound to your game. And if you're not happy with one you pick, you can always try another one. The next thing I want to do is actually save my game because I have not saved it at all yet. So you can type in whatever you want. I'm going to call mine Hedgehog Snack because he's going to eat something here in a second. And then, like I say, it automatically saves, so you don't have to hit anything for save. But you can hit File, Save Now if you'd like, and then it gives you that like warm, fuzzy feeling that you've got it saved. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to have something that's my goal, my target, the thing I'm trying to get to. Since I'm a hedgehog and I want a snack, I want something a hedgehog might eat. So I'm going to go into Choose a Sprite here. So go ahead and click on the circle down here for Choose a Sprite. And I'm going to choose that a hedgehog might like to eat beetles. So I'm going to select a beetle. Obviously, you can pick anything you'd like, but I'm going to pick a beetle. I'm going to make my beetle kind of appropriately sized and put him into the maze at the location where I want him to go. Now, to be honest, my beetle is a pretty simple sprite. He doesn't move. He doesn't have any code at all. We're just going to detect if we hit him or not. And if we hit him, that's how we know we won the game. So he's just about the easiest sprite you could possibly have. But you do see that there's no code here. Go back to your hedgehog, and all your code will reappear. So the next thing I want to do is I want an if statement to see if I'm touching my beetle. So we've done if statements a few times. Go to Control. Drag out an if statement. By the way, one thing to be careful of, Bowen did this for me as an example, is he accidentally put the if statement like inside of another if statement. That's bad. Don't do that, right? So make sure it's inside the forever loop. But all your if statements, like none of them should be like inside of the other one. So you can always kind of like see that they're all independent if statements. And that's important. And if your code's freaking out, that may be something that you have wrong. So this last one, so if some condition, then do this. It's going to be a sensing condition again. Instead of a color, we're going to say if touching mouse pointer. But obviously we don't want mouse pointer, we want beetle. So if we're touching the beetle, then we want to win the game. So we want to win the game there. When I win the game, what I want to do is a couple things. First, I want to make some sounds. Let's see what sounds my hedgehog has. He's got pop. I don't want pop. Pop doesn't sound like I'm eating a beetle. So I want to add a sound. So just to recap, I went into hedgehog, I went into sounds, and then down here I'm going to click on choose a sound. And I think the sound that I would recommend for you is chomp. The easiest way I think to find it is to start typing it and then to add chomp. And so if you play chomp, we actually use that with apple, if you remember. Now chomp sounds okay, but I would rather repeat chomp 4 times. And I'm going to do that in my code, right? So as soon as I hit the beetle, I want to chomp 4 times. So I'm going to go to control, and I'm going to add a repeat loop to go 4 times. And what I want to do 4 times is I want to chomp until done. So play sound chomp until done. So I'm going to try this out, and then it sounds like I need to help my campers out some. So I'm going to go ahead and move around. I'm trying not to use diagonals because I discovered diagonals are bad, which I learned just now. And then as soon as I get to my beetle, what should happen? It goes forever, right? So it kind of sort of almost worked. The thing that didn't work is it just kept doing it forever and ever and ever. So I'm going to fix this one thing, and then I'll help my campers. So the last thing I want to do to fix it is I want the game to end after I start chomping them. To end the game, go to Control, go to Stop All, and then put it on the bottom of your repeat 4. And then things should work better. So as you play your game, I'm going to cheat here and go diagonally through my wall, which I discovered I could do only recently. And so it chomps 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then the game ends. See if you can get that working in your code, and I'll help my campers do the same. All right, so I think mine's going pretty good. One bug that McKinley had, which was kind of interesting, her target just so happened to have the same color as her walls. So when she almost hit her target, it bounced them off. If that does happen to you, just draw a different color kind of on the outside of it, and it'll fix that bug. So you might have that. It's kind of a weird bug that'll affect some people. Let's go ahead and add one more feature. The feature that I want to add is a timer. A timer is a very special type of variable because it's built in. And so if you go to motion, there's a built-in timer in here, which is kind of interesting. So I've got to scroll around. Oh, it's not in motion. It's in sensing. There's a built-in timer. And so this timer starts when your game starts. And I like to go ahead and do that explicitly. So when my game starts, I want to reset the timer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take reset timer and put it in here to make sure that it zeroes out when the game starts. And then what I want to do is I want to say what my time was at the end. So scroll down to the end here. And so I'm going to go chomp, chomp, chomp. But before I say stop all, I want to say something. I want to say their time. So go into looks. Put on a say hello for 2 seconds. And then what I want to do is I want to say your time was, and then the timer. Since I want to do kind of 2 things, I want to say your time was, and then also I do the timer. I've got to put those together with a join command. Once you see it, it'll make sense. So instead of just saying a single thing, I'm going to say join. I'm going to say your time was. And then what I'm going to say is I'm going to grab that timer from out of sensing. So your time was, and then it's just going to say a number. And you can phrase it however you want. You can say your time was, or you could just say time, or you can make it whatever you want. You could also put multiple of these joins together and put it in the middle of your sentence. Knock yourself out, right? I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to say, and I'm going to join the word time and timer for 2 seconds. So now whenever I run it, my game starts. And so I can run around and I can do my game. And when I finish, It says my time was 12 something. Now some little tweaks. So the things I didn't like, these are little tweaks. I would like for it to say my time for a little longer, maybe 5 seconds, just so I can read it, so I can register whether it's better than previous or not. Another thing I don't like is I don't like that when I click the green flag, my timer starts for me right away because I've got to click the green flag and then I've got to move my hand over to the arrow keys. So just to fix that, this is a little fix. I'm going to say something just to kind of like pause the game a little bit. So I'm going to go into looks. I'm going to drag a say hello for 2 seconds. And I'm going to put it just before I reset the timer. And it's just going to say ready, or maybe get ready, whatever you want. So now if I hit the green flag, it says get ready, and then gives me a second to move my hands over. And now I can start trying to get to my goal. I hit the wall a couple times, so this is not going to be my best ever. And then I get to it. Chomp, chomp, chomp. 11.25. So you can play your game as many times as you want. And you can try to see if you can get an optimum time. And then, of course, you want to have your parent play it and see what they can do. So mine, that time, was 10.4, a little bit better. All right, so little feature there with like getting you ready. It's kind of like a get ready, set, go. And then a little feature down here for the timer. All right, so I'm going to go around and I'm going to see how my campers did. I'm also going to click this share button. And this share button gives me a URL that I could share with other people. In order to be able to share, remember, you have to have logged in as an account and you have to verify your email address. All right, campers, you ready for me to see what you made? All right, Neela, you're up first. Let's see what you've got. So it says get ready. And then you're going to take your hedgehog around your maze. Your game's very difficult because of all those diagonals, isn't it? So you kind of work your way down. You're doing great, babe. Neela made it past the hard spot. I had to edit a little bit there because it took just a little bit. Yours is challenging, Neela. Get the bread and we'll see what your time was. Your time was, 38 seconds. Great job, Neela. Give us the fist there. All right, Bowen, let's see it. Hit go. So hit your green flag, Bowen. All right, so Bowen says, get ready. And he's got this octopus theme. So he's going around, he's trying to get the jellyfish. Now, the jellyfish, to be clear, is not going to get eaten by the octopus. The jellyfish and the octopus are friends. Cool, looks great.
Your time
And you got a time of 15.2. Great job, Bowen. Did you have fun making this game?
Mm-hmm.
Great job. We'll go with Sissy next. So Sissy's got the owl theme. And as mentioned, she has a black wall, and her mouse had black on it, so she had to like outline it in red or something. All right, so she's playing her game. Where are you at, Sissy? I don't even see. Oh, her owl is teeny tiny. She is playing. It's just the world's smallest owl. And this owl books it around the course. So it's a super spiral.
It's Mini Owl versus Mega Mouse.
And so you got it in 23 seconds. Great job, sis. Great creativity. All right, Keegan, let's see yours. Hit the green flag. Get ready. So he's got a super dog. That is not the right path, super dog. So he's got a super dog running around his red maze. Is this dog man? Is that who this is?
Nope.
Go the right way. I want a bark sound effect. 24057. Great job, everybody. Everybody have fun?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So I'll go ahead and say a couple things just to wrap it up. So the learning things from today, coding is fun. You can do this. That's kind of our message every day. Art and science, like this drawing things, really are important to make your games custom and make you own it. And your creativity, you can see just from my campers here, is really what makes this things interesting. A few more things in here, but I won't worry about those. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll start another coding adventure. See you then. Bye. I didn't know you could do that. Apparently, if you go at a diagonal, you just go right through the wall. Neither Bob nor I tried diagonals. I didn't even think about diagonals until Neela's maze. By the way, I had to make this. If it bothered you that if you hold down 2 keys at the same time that you actually can sometimes walk through walls. Oh, this is weird. Now I can't even do it. But there we go. I got through. If it bothers you about the diagonals, one way you could fix it, this is not required at all, is really there's this code right here. So there's this if statement right here that's asking if you're touching the color. Well, here's what I'm going to do to fix it. This is completely optional. You can just watch me. Is I really want to take this code and separate it by itself, and I want to call this code after every move. And a good way to do this is a great way to introduce like functions. Functions in Scratch are called blocks. You can just watch this. You don't have to do it. But if I make a function called check for the wall, which is not really a great name for a function, but that's my name for the function. So this code right here is the function check for the wall. And now I can put that in everywhere after move speed. And now what will happen is I've made that function that I can reuse. You can see I used it 4 times. And now it shouldn't let me go through the wall. So even if I'm like down here and I hold down both keys to go to a diagonal, I just can't get through there, right? So you do not have to add that. It's not a requirement. Maybe the next time I film this, I'll put it in there. But it is a great time to show you functions. And functions are whenever you're going to have the same code in multiple places. Here I've got it in 4 different places. And you can see how I broke that out. And it fixed this bug of going through the wall. All right, that little addition, it just bugged my family, so I thought I'd show you how to fix it if it happened to bother you. All right, thanks for joining us. Bye.